Welcome to this video on the Zen World channel. My name is Sri Satguru, Buddha Rawa Bhagwan. Today's video I'm going to talk about an interesting species of flies. So not black flies, actually more of another colored fly. Almost, sometimes you see some flies and you're just like, oh, that's a different type of fly. It doesn't look like your regular fly anyways. So, I live in a tower, right? Right? My palace in the clouds, if you want to see it that way. But sometimes there's some insects that go to my balcony, right? And lately I've been on my balcony and there was one insect of a specific type, a different type of fly, very interesting type, that would come and visit me. So it would come towards me, and on different days it kept happening. And it would come towards me, and then it would very slowly just stop beside me, and then very, very, very slowly crawl towards my feet. And I thought it was an interesting behavior for that insect. So one of these days I communicated with the insect, because a Shri is a part of nature, right? A being of nature, connected to nature, and communicates with the animals and beings of this world in many different ways, right? So the Shri can do these things, right? It is a part of nature, right? The Shri, a part of the organisms of the planet. So for like a Shri can talk to the birds, for example, and communicate with the birds. Well, around the Shri, the world gets transformed in a spiritual way. Okay, as the place becomes Shried in a way, if you want to call it, in the area around the Shri. So as I've spoken to birds before, and they've told me about how they've been developing spiritually, right? I was talking to some hummingbirds, some very small birds, not hummingbirds, but very small birds, sparrows. And they presented themselves to me as the most developed spiritual practitioners of their families, of their species. And they explained to me that they were practicing the techniques that they saw me practice in parks and all these different things to develop spiritually. So they also grow spiritually, animals, and they also practices of meditation and other types of practices like this. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why many people say that people should be vegetarian. It's because the animals are conscious and aware as well, right? And they practice in their ways as well, and they have their life and their understanding of the world and their perception of the world as well. So I don't want to, on this video, tell people to become vegetarian or not. That's not my purpose, and there are reasons to eat meat as well. But this is one of the reasons why people say, well, how can you eat animals? Because they're aware, they're conscious, and they feel pain when we kill them and all these different things, right? So, yes. So, once again, if you decide to only become vegetarian, that's a great thing, because you won't be eating animals anymore. And there's some great vegetarian food that can be made in really, really good ways as well. It's very, very tasty, and with bread and dips and bread and all these different things that are really, really good, especially in the Indian traditions around there. Very important important vegetarian meals that are very, very good and tasty and full and filling, right, and healthy. So animals also develop spiritually, and to get back to these insects on the balcony, right? So I communicated with the insect, and it explained to me that its family of insects, its species, had been growing spiritually as they had been observing my teachings through the window of my home, basically, right? And their species has been evolving spiritually and intellectually by listening to my teachings from the area around where I am. So they have been growing in that way. And the insect also explained to me that although winters are very difficult, what they do is they can share their acquired knowledge into their newborns of their species and maintain a knowledge within that continuation of their species. And they have been evolving and growing, listening to me. So one of them decided to come visit me to see if I would interact with it, and And that's why it kept crawling very, very, very slowly to my foot. And then I would kind of move my foot a little bit and it would keep crawling a little bit, but cautiously. And then it would just kind of go a little bit further when I kind of pushed it away, you know, and come back. And I wanted to be at the feet of the Guru, right? So what happens is I communicated with it, and then I saw, and we had an exchange, and it showed me its versions of the Kundalini teachings that I have been teaching, right? And how their species has also been working on Kundalini yoga, right? So even animals practice Kundalini practice, or insects, and especially this species has been advancing. So it demonstrated its techniques to me of Kundalini. So often we see insects are moving their arms very, very, very quickly and all these different things, right? Well, this species of fly has very long and agile arms. So it showed me all its techniques, right? The Kundalini, right? And how that works, right? And all these different things. So it showed me the Kundalini. Then it said that it had been developing new techniques based on their system and how they are built. So it was doing other techniques. So going, instead of just at the wrist level, going up like that, doing it at the elbow level as well. You know, so it was going like this, right? And showing me different techniques of Kundalini that its species has been working on and developing. So we had an exchange in this way where it showed me its practices of Kundalini and where it had developed to based on the way that they're built as a species and the flexibility that they have with their legs and their members. And it was also going up on two legs and doing poses, stops, right? In its practice, essentially, of the Tandava that I demonstrate almost every night at my place. Right? And I always have the windows open, if you want to see it that way, until I close them at night. So the insects have been growing spiritually, learning from their Shri around, right? So a little bit of information about how other animals, other species also practice spiritual practice. And as they see humans practice spiritual practice, they emulate these spiritual practices and also practice them on their own. So they also come to the feet of the gurus, the animals, and the insects, and all these things, to learn from them and to grow spiritually. And this insect wanted to demonstrate to me that it had grown in intelligence and Kundalini practice, and that their species now practices the Kundalini practice as an insect species and has grown at the feet of the Guru. So I hope this video has been interesting for you. And makes you consider that animals and insects are very intelligent and also spiritual beings. Thank you for listening to this video on the Zen Work channel.